Welcome back to another episode, a round of SEO Battlezone. We are on round 3. How the heck are we here all there? And our two heavyweights are in the ring. We got in one corner the flying dinosaur back again for more. He can't help himself. It's Zach Chahalis. He is the director of SEO at iPullRank. And in the other corner, epithet be damned, Mr. Mike King, the one, the only SEO founder, and CEO of iPullRank agency. We're all repping iPullRank. Who am I kidding? But this week we are talking about Q4. Recession is upon us. Budgets are being slashed. Teams are being laid off. What the heck? The C-suite doesn't invest in SEO during times of economic adversity. So for round 1, I'm going to put it to you guys, and we'll start with you, Mr. Mike King. When the budget is tight, should you cut SEO before your advertising? Put some time on the clock and fire away.
So obviously I'm biased, but I truly don't believe it makes sense for you to cut the SEO budget at that point, particularly because you got to think about how the two channels, and when I say two channels, I mean organic versus paid channels. And I'm not just talking about paid search. I'm talking about all paid channels, right? Like when you turn that off, you're not going to get anything else. Like people aren't going to suddenly start looking for your ads and like trying to find them in other ways, unless it's a really interesting ad. In that case, yes, that may happen. But generally speaking, you focusing on an organic channel has a compounding effect, whereas a paid channel does not. And so it's just a better investment that is likely to yield more even after you turn it off. So if you're talking about squeezing your purse strings and all of that, I would definitely say stick with the organic channels because of the fact that they will continue to drive traffic and conversions and business down the line. And the other thing is that there was a study a number of years ago and they compared paid search, which is considered the most efficient advertising channel, against content marketing. And again, what they showed was like, okay, if you have optimized your campaigns and you spend, let's say, whatever the amount is, let's say it's $100, right? Well, you're always going to get the same number of leads no matter how much you spend. But again, with content marketing, you see that it's like a savings account or like a money market account. Like the more you put in there, the more you're going to get back over time. So it's just a reality that it's a more efficient channel. And when I say content marketing, I'm talking largely about using SEO in concert with creating content that drives traffic, that meets your target audiences at the stage that they're in when they're trying to ultimately look for your service. It's just, end of the day, it's just going to drive more value in a sustainable way than you're going to get out of advertising.
Boom. Okay, Zach the Flying Dinosaur Chahalis, what do you think? Should the C-suite cut SEO before advertising?
No. Yeah, I mean, I would say no. I would say there's also an element of it depends on the scenario too. I mean, are we talking about like full budget cutback where, I no longer have the money? Or are we talking about like, hey, I should be scaling back inefficient paid spend? I mean, that's the thing that, I would be looking at in those types of cases. I would definitely not be cutting organic. I think, to Mike's point, it's like investing in your 401k in a long-term investment, right? You don't just stop doing it at any point in time. When the market's down, that's when you start to buy more. I'm not cutting my investment in my 401k because the market's dipping a little bit. Because it's going to come back. But if you don't keep investing in your SEO, that can fall off. Things start to get stale. Competitors are doing better. Competitors are investing their money into SEO and you're not, and you start falling down that line. In theory, you're getting more per dollar that you're putting in the market for SEO than you're going to on the paid side. It's just not that immediate return on investment. So yeah, you shut off paid, you're not going to get that immediate lead or sale that might come out of it. But if you shut off the SEO, how long is it going to take you to recover once you turn that back on? That could be several months. That could be years. That could be you digging out of a hole, depending on who you're going up against. If you're a retailer going up against Amazon, anytime you give up, you're automatically clawing back in that scenario. But I've run paid, I've run SEO. And in those cases, the first thing I'm doing is cutting inefficient use of paid spend. If you look at a site and their ROI is below average for what you should be getting in that industry, revisit that and cut that dollar there instead.
Mike King with the right hook.
No, I was just saying, if you're a retailer going up against Amazon, I pray for you regularly anyway.
I've been there. I've done that. Yep.
Oof. Okay, there we go. A couple of haymakers thrown. On to round two. Okay, y'all know firsthand how many people did cut their budget back in 2020 when the pandemic hit. So the question now is, did the C-suite learn their lesson from the pandemic when it comes to investing in SEO? Mike, start with you. Go.
Apparently not. I mean, just the fact that this is a conversation that we're having now, they clearly did not learn their lesson. And there's been so many studies about this, just from a macro perspective, for companies. I think it was McKinsey or Bain or one of them. They compared the compound annual growth rate of companies that pulled back versus ones that didn't through recessions over time. And it's always the ones that didn't pull back that just win in the end, right? So we all just went through it. We literally just went through it over the last, 2 years. And you saw brands that were like, you know what? Nope, we're going to keep spending. And, you just saw that they had better brand awareness coming out of it. Because to Zach's point, just like with your 401k, everything is on sale right now. So the more money you put in there, the more value you're going to get out of it. And so when there's so few people in the marketplace, and when you think about paid media, right, it's an auction. So when there's less people in the auction, things cost less. And I wouldn't say by the same token with SEO, things are cheaper because of the fact that you have less competitors. But nevertheless, what you do find is if, let's say 5 out of 10 of your competitors aren't investing in SEO, well, that allows you to close gaps or build the moat that's bigger around your brand, whether that's through content creation, link acquisition, through, just deploying more things faster from a technical perspective. And so it's really a good idea to continue to invest through this rather than pulling back if you actually want to win.
There you go. Okay, Zach, what's your take? Do you think C-suite and companies learn their lesson from the pandemic when it comes to investing in SEO?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Mike. I don't think that they have. I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing again is, starting to make the cuts there first. But you start to think about what's the return on investment for me investing in my SEO? I mean, I've worked with sites over time where, you're talking a 4 to 6 figure a month SEO engagement, but you're talking an 8 to 10 figure a month paid budget, right? What's your return on investment comparing those two tactics? The other thing I think people are forgetting about too is there's a large amount of overlap in optimizing your site for organic that benefits you on the paid side too. So if you stop investing in that, what's that doing to your quality scores? Then you're paying more in your bids because you have to overcome poor quality scores or not having good content for something that you're going after. If you're running dynamic search ads, that's pretty much mostly based on the organic optimizations of the page and how Google Ads bot is looking through and evaluating that content. So, I mean, if you stop investing there, you're also hurting yourself on the paid side in the long run.
That fair take, especially when it comes to any sort of integrated marketing strategy. Okay, so we are on to our final round, which is we know what you guys think about how they should have invested their budget. We know what the mistakes they made in the past. For the final round, what should companies be doing with their budget and SEO right now going forward? Mike, floor is yours.
So I'll give an example from a client that we have been working with for a number of years. They're specifically in the home lending space. And at the end of 2019, they came to us. They're like, hey, things are going really well, but we need to figure out how we can expand this. And so we went back to them and said, well, let's expand the keyword coverage and effectively create more content so that we're up and down the journey in like more redundant ways, right? And so, we laid out this bigger keyword strategy, this bigger content plan, and we actually got started on it at the end of 2019, right? So again, home lending, and then 2020 hits, and then the pandemic hits, and we had already laid this foundation with all this content that they were already there ranking for all these keywords once the rate environment got so much better for people looking to, buy houses. So I would say that if you are thinking about, doubling down, or even if you're not thinking about doubling down, like maintaining your existing investment, I would say, how do you expand your keyword footprint? Because the reality of it is that a lot of behaviors are also changing as a result of the quote unquote recession. And so it's worth revisiting your audiences. It's worth revisiting your keyword research and targets. It's worth updating existing content and also expanding that. So, there's two benefits from that. One, you're going to meet the audience where it is right now. And then two, you're going to be in a better position as compared to your competitors that are cutting back.
So much good stuff there. Okay, Zach, I know you've got more to add to it, so dive in, sir. Hit it.
From my perspective, I agree with Mike in that sense. I mean, investing in that keyword portfolio and investing in your content is really the most effective way. You could consider, just for a change of perspective, you could consider investing into some technical stories, not maybe doing a full replatforming or something like that, but if you've got some technical roadmap stories that can help make your site more accessible for SEO, and you can start to justify the usage of some of your budget in that sense, or some of the development hours needed to, that could be a great area of opportunity. But when you look at like an e-commerce retailer, right, I think to Mike's point, with as much as the way that people are searching has changed and the way that they're buying products has changed, one big area of opportunity, if I'm a retailer, I'm looking at how can I elevate that content? How can I go after those people that are searching differently? Is that, creating a buying guide? Is that creating content that supports where people are looking now and trying to get them in that realm? That's the big area of opportunity for me. And I'll stick with retail, but if you're creating buying guide content, for example, it's constantly evolving, right? The product that you recommended buying in 2019 is not the product that you're recommending buying in 2020. So don't let your content get stale in that sense. Invest the money into that, maintain that ranking, maybe consider shifting that older content to a different page and maintaining it. But it can kind of depend on that use case, but there's a ton of opportunity in creating new content that supports where your users are searching.
There is so much here that we need a final round for both of you to kind of summarize your thoughts, because as a referee, I almost want to jump in and talk about, like to your point about the retailers and e-commerce search changing and different types of content where retailers are now competing with publishers with buying guides, and you've got the publishers all across the board. It is becoming more competitive. Mike, I'm going to give you a final 1 to 2 minutes to drop your summarizing, concluding, drop in it hard theories. Ready? You go.
Well, I got one more thing I want to add to the last question. It's that to the point of everything being on sale, there's a lot of companies looking to get out of whatever position they are in because of the economic downturn. So you can think about buying other websites, or if you're a big enough company, buying other companies and folding them into yours, and then basically wiping a competitor off the board. So that's a bigger picture thing that you can be doing here. If you're like a CFO, these are the sort of things you're probably already thinking about, but there's a big SEO potential from that. Now, as far as just like concluding this, I think the best way to say it is that the compounding growth that you get from SEO is just a far bigger opportunity than what you would get from paid media. And again, to what Zach said in the beginning, you're going to lose the quick hits or the quick leads and things like that you might be getting from advertising, but the long-term growth will dwarf what you're getting from advertising.
Boom. Okay, Zach, you got 1 more minute to kind of say your piece when it comes to this conversation. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Mike's other point of acquisition during this point in time. I mean, I've worked from an agency working with sites that are, jumping into acquisition, and I've worked in-house for companies that are big in acquisition, and that's how they're getting into a new vertical, or that's how they're getting into something deeper. So tons of opportunity there. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, do not hinder your long-term potential by pausing your SEO right now. The amount of time it's going to take you to recover from that is going to be exponential, because all of your competitors are still investing at that point in time. So now you're just digging yourself out of a hole and trying to recover from it. Now, if you're continuing to invest in your SEO, then you're making yourself stronger for that paid perspective when you continue to invest more money in that. But also, I mean, in the long run of things, if there are competitors that are in your realm that can no longer invest their funds in SEO, then you can start to beat them as well. So there's a ton of opportunity by going down this realm. But in the long run, it's going to be more impactful for you to continue to invest those dollars into SEO than some of the other channels or tactics.
There you have it. That's these guys' takes. Very real conversations, hard conversations being in the boardroom across, companies. If you're having a conversation like this, if you're the CFO or if you're the head of SEO and you need, a team behind you to kind of make your case, or if you're looking at your budget and you don't know what to do, now's the time actually to have a conversation, because we kind of love brainstorming the heck out of these situations, and we can definitely help. This is Mike King in one corner, Zach Chahalis in the other. This is SEO Battlezone. I'm your referee, Garrett Sussman. We're all repping iPullRank for another round of SEO Battlezone. We will catch you next week, as always. Peace out.